This is What the Hell with Koereyelle, where I share my insight on the craziness that is going on these internet streets. Now, a lot of times when we are tapping into these podcast conversations and we hear this gender war ish conversation, it's typically being had by single people. We don't often get to hear from married folks, especially those who are attempting to pursue healthy, happy marriages. But y'all already know that I am on a mission to help wives just like me figure out how to manage millennial marriages, because the marriages that we are dealing with in 2024, this ain't your grandmama's marriage. Okay, grandmama wasn't dealing with social media. Grandmama wasn't dealing with, you know, I will say, I was gonna say she wasn't dealing with the side chick culture. We know that she was definitely dealing with the side chick. Maybe she wasn't knowingly dealing with the side chick. She wasn't publicly dealing with the side chick, but we know, granddaddy definitely had those side families living across the street from each other and all of that. So grandmama was dealing with some similarities, but with social media, with reality TV, with Americans being so wrapped up in money over morality, marriage just ain't what it used to be. Okay. And so because millennials are having to deal with different things and do things differently, I'm all about having these conversations from the standpoint of someone who wants a healthy, happy marriage and someone who is practicing what I preach and trying to figure this thing out on a daily basis. So one of the conversations that I have had time and time again with married men is the lack of sex that they are having inside of their marriages with their wives. Okay. Not saying that they're having sex outside of their marriages, but these are men who are faithful to their wives, but who can also honestly say that a lack of intimacy and a lack of desire from their wife is their main complaint within their marriage. Like their marriage might be 99% good, but that 1%, if they had something to complain about across the board, this is the common complaint. So much so that I have actually had married men tell me that they were never turned down for sex until they got married. Not to say that every woman under the sun had sex with them when they asked as single men. That is not what they're saying. But what they were saying was the women who they were in relationship with did not turn them down for sex until they got married. So what does that mean? What does that look like? That looks like as they were dating and even once they were engaged, they were having sex frequently, at least regularly and on a consistent basis. Them and the woman that they were with were at least on the same page. Now, we know that based on your cycle, based on your hormones, based on all types of things, your level of desire can change, right? So we're not expecting two partners to be on the same page and have the same exact level of desire every single day of their lives. That is unrealistic. However, these men are basically saying before they got married, there were no issues with sex. There were no issues with intimacy, not only with having it frequently, but in like the quality of it. Okay. So there were no problems with the quantity or the quality of it before getting married. Now, once they married their wives, now they're in the marriage, they got the ring, they said I do. Now they're on the other side of that wedding. Now the wife don't really want it no more. And if she does want it, it's not as frequent. And when it's happening, it ain't as nasty. Okay. She ain't doing all that she was doing as a single woman. And so this man divorced his wife for withholding sex. He said they only had sex in 2 years. Now, if y'all watch Wifed Up Now What, if you don't, I'm going to link it down below. This particular episode with Dr. Tiff, where we talked about sexless marriage. And sexless marriage is defined as any marriage that the partners have not had sex in 6 months or more. Would y'all believe that 25 to 50% of well, I was going to say adults who's married, but obviously you got to be an adult to be married. But 25 to 50% of marriages identify as being sexless, meaning they have not had sex in 6 months or more. Okay. Another statistic says that up to 40%, another statistic shows that 40 million American adults said that they are in romantic relationships where there is no sex. So apparently, even though this seems like news to me, even though I don't think that I know anybody who is in a sexless marriage, but this isn't something that you would necessarily be talking about and telling your business about, I think that this is kind of abnormal. And based on the fact that he divorced her, he obviously thought it was abnormal too. Now, when I read the details of this story, it said that the wife was not sick, okay, because we know there can be extenuating circumstances where maybe you're in pain, maybe you're going through some type of therapy, maybe things aren't working properly, maybe this is just not the sexy season. We get that. But homegirl wasn't sick. He said that she was literally just withholding sex. Like, I'm mad at you, so I'm shutting it down. I am closing my legs. Get lost. Go sleep on the couch. Vibes for 2 years. That is insane and kind of ridiculous. But when I think about the general consensus that a lot of men have, that it's just different on the other side of marriage, there's a couple things that we could consider. Okay. Being a married woman who is also a mother of two, meaning I'm busy as hell, meaning my body was not my own for a very long time. Okay. I breastfed for 22 months with one of my kids. I'm sorry, for 20 months with one of my kids. So imagine that's like 30 months that my body was not my own. And then I got pregnant and had another one and breastfed again. So I understand the changes that your body goes through. I understand the hormones. I understand the lifestyle change that a mother has to just navigate and figure out. I get that part. I get all of it. Okay. So I think that I'm speaking from, a perspective of someone who I'm in this thing. And these are conversations that my husband and I have had, and not even necessarily about our own relationship, but I can definitely identify a change in energy, a change in mood, a change in everything, a change in desire, just changes as we evolve, as we mature, as our responsibilities change, things change. And I think that if you are not on the same page with your partner in the sense of y'all are committed to this commitment, meaning y'all are willing to talk about the tough things, y'all are willing to have these hard conversations, y'all are willing to do the work, y'all are willing to at least open the door for a conversation. If you are committed to the commitment, then I think that regardless of your changes in desire, it's a conversation that can be had, right? It's something that you should be willing to talk about. You should be willing to have some consideration for your partner and for this commitment that you made. But so I get the hormones changing, postpartum, having a baby. Yes, that to me is a valid reason for why your desire has changed, why your sex drive is not the same, why y'all are probably not having as consistent sex as you once were. So that's one thing to consider. And that's something that I think is common that we don't talk about. We don't often talk about the impact of becoming parents, like the impact that your partnership, your relationship, your marriage has once you become parents. Once you go from just husband and wife to mom and dad, everything changes. And a lot of those changes are not fun. A lot of those changes could be seen as negative. A lot of those changes are stressful. And so that is something that you should try to prepare for. But again, we don't even talk about it. So if we're not talking about it, when you find yourself in it, you're going to feel like, well, this person is messed up, or maybe I'm messed up, or this situation is messed up, or maybe I made a mistake. You're going to be questioning your marriage because you simply have not had this conversation. So many people are focused on, do we want to have a baby? Very few people are focused on, do we want to be parents? Are we willing to invest and sacrifice to be parents? So becoming parents can definitely impact your intimacy. It can definitely impact your sex life. That's one thing. We also know that the majority, right? It's not all the time, but the majority of men are going to have a higher sex drive than their wife most of the time. Now, this might switch. I heard once you turn 40, you start getting a little frisky. I ain't there yet, so I don't know. But even if it switches at some point, the majority of men are probably going to have a higher sex drive or desire sex more often than women. So we know that's a thing as well. Are you willing to make a compromise, right? Maybe you don't feel like busting it open and throwing it back tonight, but maybe you feel like, doing something else, coming up with an alternative, right? Filling in the gap, doing what you can do, okay? Using what you got to get what you want. Are you willing to at least compromise? Some people grew up, in the church or subscribing to certain religious beliefs that say that sex is a duty of a wife. Depending on whether the husband or the wife or both or neither were raised in these types of circumstances or with those beliefs, that is going to impact the sex that you're having in your marriage. So again, opening up the communication and having these conversations before you get married, I think are definitely going to set you up for being able to maintain and manage your marriage a little bit easier. But as I started unpacking the layers of this specific statement that I never had to wait for sex until I got married, I really was like messed up by that because no, I don't feel like having sex every night. However, as a logical, rational thinking grown ass woman, I know that my husband desires sex and I know that he desires sex with me. And I also know that if I am showing him that I am not desiring him for an extended period of time, that's going to start to weigh on him as a man. That's going to start to weigh on his ego. That's going to start to make him question himself. That's going to start to negatively impact not just our relationship, but him as a person. If his wife does not want to have sex with him, that's going to impact him. That's going to impact how he goes out into the world. That's going to impact how he is as a father with our children. That is going to impact him. And if I am not willing to recognize that and realize that and put sometimes my personal feelings or my mood or my energy to the side, right? Then I am not really committed to the commitment. So again, I think it's being willing to have the conversation, being willing to do what you can do, and then also being a logical person. So if you are a logical person and you understand that this man that you married does desire sex and he desires sex from you, if you turn him down, make him feel that he is not desirable for too long, eventually, probably possibly he's going to start looking for companionship, partnership, intimacy in other places. And that is how the devil can creep right up into your marriage, giving your husband a distraction, showing him someone who does desire him, showing someone who is interested in him, showing him someone who does appreciate him, who makes him feel like a man. That's how that happens. It's because we get so wrapped up in our feelings, our emotions, that we let our logic go for so long that this man is like, okay, well, if she don't want it, homegirl over here in the drive-through that I see twice a week, she acting like she want it. She's making me feel like a man. She's making me feel like I can't do no wrong. So I'm gonna just slide over here real quick until she gets it together. And then we're all mad. And then we blame him. And so I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm just saying logically, we have to start asking ourselves, are we committed to the commitment? So this is what I think is the real issue. If I really think back to my own relationship with my actual husband when he was my boyfriend, what was the difference? Because he's right in saying that our sex life was different when we were dating. Now, we weren't living together and we weren't seeing each other every day, but the majority of the times that we saw each other when we were dating, and definitely, well, by the time we got engaged, we were living together, but we were having sex regularly, frequently. If we saw each other 4 nights out of the week, we were probably having sex 4 nights out of the week, at least 3 nights out of the week when we were dating. Now, as a married couple, I'm not going to tell y'all all of our business, but maybe it is not as regular. Okay, life be life. But what's really the difference? Because I'm still me, he's still him. I still love him. I'm still, attracted to him. I still desire to have sex with him. What is the difference between the single woman who's throwing it back and hanging from the chandeliers and the shower rods when she's dating versus the wife who has the bonnet on and the baggy sweatpants going to bed at night? What's the difference? Well, I feel like that single woman, she's working towards something. She doesn't really want to ruffle any feathers. She don't want to disappoint him. She don't want him to be mad at her. She wants to keep him. She wants to keep him around, and she wants to be kept. And for a lot of single women, we correlate having sex with being kept. If I do not have sex, sometimes before I'm really ready, sometimes when I don't really want to, if I do not give in and have sex, I run the risk of ruining this relationship. I run the risk of him not wanting to be with me. I run the risk of this man not wanting to marry me. So I am not, of course, I'm not going to say no. Of course, I'm going to always be in the mood. Of course, I'm going to be out here getting in these porn star positions. Of course, I'm going to be doing all of that because I am working towards something, which is the ring, the relationship, the commitment, me feeling like sex, me exchanging sex with you is you exchanging desire or commitment or care or concern with me. Women think of sex in a totally different way from how men do. But single women who desire marriage, a lot of times we think that that's the way in. Y'all said that the way to a man's heart was through his stomach, but I think it's through something else. And most single women do too. We think that if we have sex when he's ready, we're gonna get some extra points. We think if we have sex every time he wants it, then why would he not want us? Why would he not commit to us? Why would he not put a ring on it if we're doing all of the things that we think we need to do to get it? Versus the married woman with the bonnet on. She already has the ring. She already won the prize. She's already comfortable in her position. She already got his last name. She already got the commitment. She already had the proposal. She already got what she was working for. So I think that we have to start teaching young girls, because girls are having sex, they having babies, they doing all of the things. The one thing they ain't having is conversation with the aunties, with the big sisters, with the mamas. I think we have to start teaching the young ladies that sex is not the solution. Sex is not the secret. Have something else. Bring something else to the table besides your ass, single lady. Because the reason you feel like you have to have sex every single night, the reason why this man feels tricked because you were having sex every single night is because you think that that's your leverage. You think that this is the one thing that if I do this, I'm going to get what I want. If I give you this, you're going to give me that. So we have to start teaching young ladies to stop having sex. Stop having sex before you're ready. Stop having sex when you're not comfortable. Stop having sex because you think it's going to lead to commitment. Stop thinking that sex is going to make him want to marry you. Stop thinking that sex is the secret answer to everything that you want in life. If I am just willing to do everything sexually, if I'm willing to be his little sex kitten as a single woman, then he's going to wife me. And I'm just going to ride off into the sunset with Prince Charming. That's not usually how it works. If that is what you do, which is what a lot of people do, because we're not having these conversations, we're not taught any other way. We're taught to give it up so that he sticks around. And then once he's stuck, once he's around, once he's committed, once he's in there, he feels played. He feels played by you because now you got a headache. Now you boring. Now you don't want to do nothing. And you're offended when he wants to have sex. You got an attitude when he asks you for some. Make it make sense, sis. The math ain't mathing. So it is literal insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. If this large number of relationships are ending in divorce, and if an even larger number of relationships are including infidelity, meaning people are being unfaithful in these relationships, we have to start asking ourselves why. Now, I am not condoning infidelity. I am not saying that a man is justified or in his right mind for stepping out of his marriage because his wife is not having sex with him. All I am simply saying is, could you for a moment consider that that thought might creep into his mind if he feels that his wife, the woman he's committed to, does not desire him? If you are not having sex with him and it's not medically related, eventually he's going to start feeling like you're not desiring him. So, to save yourself the stress, single ladies, stop having so much sex. Stop giving this false hope that you are a porn star when you know that you're not. Stop Googling the pineapple. Is it the pineapple? No, the grapefruit. Stop Googling all these Kama Sutra positions as a single woman and then acting stank and stale and stuck up as a wife. The men don't get it. They are saying, ladies, the math ain't mathing. Okay. Now, unless you want to be married and miserable and you just don't care, then by all means do you. But I don't want to keep complaining about the divorce rate if we are not willing to at least have a conversation about some solutions. So, what I think is the solution, single ladies, stop having all this sex. Stop making these men believe that you are willing to bend it over, bust it open, throw it back 10 times a day, and then you get married and he's trying to figure out who this old hag is. It just doesn't make sense. So, get it together. What y'all think? Let me know in the comments. Was he wrong? Could you do a sexless marriage? I mean, if 25 to 50% of people are in sexless marriages, obviously it's a thing. Being asexual is a thing. Okay. So let me know. Let me know, y'all. Could you be in a sexless marriage?